ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासां ततो जायामुदीरहे। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 70, Text 12. Avikshyajanam tata darsham govarsha dvija devata kamamscha sarva varnanam pauranata purucharinam pradapya prakriti kama prashtosya prathanandata avikshajnam tata darsham govrishadvija devata kamamscha sarva varnanam pauranatha puracharinam pradapya prakriti kame praptroshya pratyanandata avikshajam tata darsham govarsha dvija devata kamamscha sarve varnanam paurinatha puracharinam pradapya prakriti kame pratosya pratanandata Mataji's. Avikshya, looking. Ajyam, at purified butter. Tatha, and also. Adirsham, at the mirror. Go, cows. Vrisha, bulls. Dvija Brahmanas, Devata, and demigods. Kaman, desired object. Cha, and. Sarva, all. Varnanam, to the members of the social classes. Paura, in the city. Antapura, and in the palace. Charinam, living. Pradapya, arranging to give. Prakritah, his ministers. Kame, with fulfillment of his desires. Pratyoshya, fully satisfying. Pratyanandata, he greeted them. Translation: he would then look at ghee, a mirror, the cows and the bulls, the brahmanas and the demigods, and see to it that the members of all the social classes living in the palace and throughout the city were satisfied with gifts. After this, he would greet his ministers, gratifying them by fulfilling all their desires. Text 13. After first distributing flower garlands, pan and sandalwood paste to the brahmanas, he would give these gifts to his friends, ministers and wives, and finally he would partake of them himself. Text 14. By then the Lord's driver would have brought his supremely wonderful chariot, yoked by Sugriv and his other horses. His charioteer would bow down to the Lord and then stand before him. Text 15. Holding on to his charioteer's hands, Lord Krishna would mount the chariot, together with Satyaki and Uddhav, just like the sun rising over the easternmost mountain. Purport. The Acharyas point out that the Lord's chariot driver would stand with his joined palms, and the Lord, holding on to his joined palms with his right hand, would mount the chariot. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishai Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So continuing our wonderful discussion on the Bhagavatam, we have reached the 70th chapter of the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, which is entitled the Lord Krishna's Daily Activities. if you observe, there's quite a unique situation in this world that when extraordinary people or special people, at least that's the way the world sees them, some special people perform some ordinary activities. When extraordinary people perform some ordinary activities, it becomes very, very exciting to the people. Much more than the same activities performed by ordinary people. So many times we see in our headlines, in the media and the newspapers, a particular actor, he's just become a father. It's big headlines. Or particular actress, she came out with a child. It's big news. Oh, this lady came out with a child and photographs are clicked and it's news. Now it's very, very ordinary and to the extent natural that a lady will be a mother and she will obviously come out. But we have observed this unique situation that when extraordinary people, when some special people perform supposedly ordinary activities, it becomes big news. Right? If any one of us eats pani puri or some chaat on a stall, it is no news. It's ordinary. But if a film star comes to a particular stall and eats pani puri, it is big news. It is ordinary activity done by extraordinary people. At least supposedly the world sees them as extraordinary. So here, we are so very fortunate that the world is filled with talking about the activities of people whom they see as extraordinary, but actually they are quite not only ordinary but much lower than ordinary people, quite low class in their understanding, quite uncivilized to be specific, barbaric to the extent. But these people make big news because there's a natural tendency to appreciate whatever great people do, even the ordinary activities. So what we find very interesting here is this chapter is entitled The Daily Activities of Krishna. Something that Lord Krishna does every day. That's what it means, daily activities. So if you see the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam, after establishing the supremacy of Krishna in the last 9 cantos of Bhagavatam, after establishing the supremacy and the power of Krishna in the last 69 chapters of the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, we have read all these chapters. We have read the incredible size of the Matsya avatar, for that matter, the power of Narsimha avatar, and so many incarnations that we have read. And right in the 10th canto, we have read the power of Lord Krishna, Govardhan Hill, and various other pastimes that we have been reading. And now, Bhagavatam is giving us an access, or rather it's like peeping in the window and seeing through the window on the other side what Krishna does every day. I mean, isn't it an amazing thing? And who is Lord Krishna? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And why I give the example of these ordinary people of this world, they have some vibhuti. There's some speciality, either they're very beautiful, they're very rich. When these ordinary people with some small vibhuti, shakti, they have, it becomes so attractive for us to really appreciate them to do when they do some ordinary activities. But here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This Bhagavatam has established His supremacy for all the readers to, for the rest of eternity. And then Shukdev Goswami is telling us the daily activities of Krishna. On how Krishna, even though he is supreme, he acts like an ordinary person. So this episode of what we are reading is not the least ordinary, it is extremely extraordinary. The chance that we all have got by the mercy of Prabhupada and the mercy of our respective spiritual masters to get access to this wonderful knowledge of Krishna's daily activities. Now we must understand that devotional path, no doubt we are on the path of devotional service, supreme path of devotional service. And right in from the beginning, the Bhagavatam kicks out all the Kaitava Dharma. It kicks out. There's absolutely no religious or sub-religious principles tolerated in the Bhagavatam. Only establishes pure devotional service. And nothing else. But we must understand from these activities that as a practitioner, a sincere practitioner becomes more and more astute, more and more sensitive in his practice of Krishna consciousness, he becomes very much respectful, not only to things that are directly Krishna, but also to the things that are connected to Krishna. It is a very Kanishta understanding to really only respect Krishna. Well, I respect only Krishna, nothing else. And I remember, the type of craziness that at least I had in the beginning years of Krishna consciousness, where everything else, including the demigods and everything else, was useless. Demigods, who cares? That Indra. I mean, what is our, as we use the word okad, or what is our right to speak anything against these great demigods? But a Kanishta understanding is that, well, I'm connected to Krishna, I don't need anything else. Everything else is useless. But here, it's a very interesting observation that we make. That Krishna, even though he is the supreme personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, Shad Aishwarya Purna Bhagavan, but he's very, very sensitive to following all the various dharmas that he needs to follow at this particular time in his life. For example, he said that he first saw, he would then look at ghee, a mirror, the cows and bulls. In the previous verse he said that to create auspiciousness in his life, Krishna would see a mirror, a ghee, cow and bull. Now, isn't it very, very surprising? To create purity and auspiciousness, Krishna sees all these things. But what is Krishna? We say, Om apavitra pavitro va sarva vastam gatopi va yat smare pundri kaksa sa bhaya abhayantra suchi. This verse is so very powerful. It says that whether something is pure or impure, but when one remembers the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, Pundrikaksha, he becomes purified from within and without. I mean, when somebody just thinks of Krishna, he becomes purified, and here Krishna himself wants to see things to make his life auspicious and pure. Why is this? Krishna is not acting arrogant when actually he's not arrogant. If he says, I don't have to do this, because Krishna can say that everything is within me. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnash Purnamudachite Purnasya Purnam Adhaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate, that everything is in me, everything that emanates from me is perfect and complete. I don't need to really do all these things. But Krishna, as a king, as a Grihastha, is very, very strictly and minutely and sensitively performing all the activities that needs to be performed by him at that particular time. So, when I was discussing this verse with I was just reading this verse, and one person came, he was on the phone, and I said, I'm just reading this verse. He's not yet, he has not spent so much time in Krishna consciousness. So he said, oh, is Krishna also attached to Artha, Karma, Dharma and Moksha? And he's trying to create some dharma in his life by doing all these auspicious things. He goes to the Sudharma, so he also wants to make some Artha. But that will be a very, very shallow understanding of Krishna.
what we really understand is that it is not really a sign of advancement. Many times as devotees, when we have a very, very shallow understanding of Krishna consciousness, we feel that disrespecting, undermining, ridiculing the religious and the sub-religious principles is a sign of advancement. And we just say, oh, this is useless. And I just follow Hare Krishna. Everything else, all other mantras, even though it is the mantra of demigod, all other paths are useless. But I'm Krishna. But that's not the sign. It is actually a sign of neophyteness. Huh? Because if that was the case, the gopis would not worship Mother Katyayani for getting a nice husband. Aradhya Bhagavan Vrajeshitanaya Taddhama Vrindavana Ramya Kachitupasana Vrajavadu Vargena Va Kalpita. It is explained in this beautiful words. The 5 things that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told us is that Aradhya Bhagavan Vrajeshitanaya, the Lord that we worship is the Lord of Vrindavan, who is the son of Nanda Maharaj, Vrajeshitanaya. Taddhama, the holy place that we worship, there are so many holy places, but the supremest holy place is Sri Vrindavan Dham. And then the third thing he says, the most glorious devotees, Ramya Kachit Upasana. The Upasana, we worship the Vrajavadus, the gopis of Vrindavan. And what do? They engage into some sort of demigod worship for some desires. So is it wrong? How can they be wrong? They are supreme devotees of Krishna. But the understanding that we all have and what we all need to have is that everything that can be used in Krishna's service, that can support our devotional service, that can strengthen our devotional service, we should use it and we should take advantage of that. So your Krishna, even though he is supremely auspicious person himself, just by his very name, everything becomes auspicious, pavitra. But he is showing by his example how he takes advantage, or he uses the facility to see some auspicious things and to do some charity to the brahmanas and give some charity and gifts to his ministers, as the verses go further. Just so that to teach us a lesson that how important it is to really, follow everything that is connected to Krishna. So we must understand that extraordinary people sometimes think of themselves to be very, very ordinary. And hence they're happy to do very ordinary things. When you are really extraordinary, when you are really advanced person, the real sign of advancement is that you think yourself to be very, very ordinary. And because you think yourself to be very, very ordinary, you are happy and comfortable and very, very blissful to do ordinary daily activities. But if you see ordinary people or simple people or devotees who think themselves to be extraordinary, if you analyze it, they sometimes renounce the ordinary things and they want to just do some extraordinary things for cheap respect and adoration. Isn't it a very amazing observation that we can make? That extraordinary people, they consider themselves to be very, very ordinary, and they do very ordinary things. Krishna never thought himself to be God. He would take advice of his ministers. What do we do in this situation? As we read in the verses, he was sitting in one of the palaces and taking advice. What do we do in this situation? And as we see in the further chapter, in the same chapter, when there will be a news coming to him about Jarasandha attacking, he will take advice of his ministers. What do we do? Krishna can say, well, I am an autocrat, and Krishna is the supreme autocrat. He doesn't really need to take any advice from anybody because he is supremely intelligent, supremely knowledgeable. But Krishna is happy. And not that he acts to take advice. He really feels the need to take advice. That's because he really thinks he is ordinary. That is the sign of extraordinary people. And that's why they become very happy to do ordinary things. I was just thinking that one of the verses that glorify the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan is Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gan Natimbi. Srimad Acharya says the glories of the Goswamis was that they did everything in scheduled measurements. And we feel that anything that we do in scheduled measurement is a sign of ordinariness or neophyteness. But when I grow, when I become advanced, I like to do things spontaneously. Spontaneous devotion, Prabhu. I'm feeling love for Krishna today. Spontaneous love. That is like ordinary people acting in extraordinary way. And what I call the PP syndrome. The premature Paramahansa. He's not a Paramahansa yet, but he is prematurely thinking that he's on the level of Paramahansa, and he thinks he's on the level. And because he thinks he's on the level of extraordinary level, many times he or she, they don't do the ordinary activities. So many times in our discussion with devotees, we come across people, Grihasthas who are married, young Grihasthas, they're starting their life. The wife comes, and sometimes the husband, but wife comes and says, Prabhu, my husband, he's not earning enough money, there's not enough money at home. He's not able to really provide the basic necessities. I said, what does he do then? He's chanting 64 rounds at home. He's chanting Hare Krishna. And his advisor is saying, very good, Prabhu, very good, you're chanting 64 rounds, very nice. This is the highest. So we're trying to do extraordinary things. We are not here to judge, but it could be for some cheap adoration that, oh, Prabhu, he's chanting 64 rounds. But what about your basic, ordinary activities as a Grihastha? Your basic duty is to earn money and provide for your family. Is it not? Right? So many a times when devotees, they run after this, what you call the Goda Dimba. This egg of a, what is it called? Horse. There's nothing like an egg of a horse. It doesn't exist. But this phantasmagoria or this illusion that we run after to get some ordinary prestige or ordinary adoration from people. And then we have this Paundraka-like facade on ourselves, a false facade of advanced person. And the sign of this is that we start ignoring the ordinary duties that we are supposed to do. And that is where we need to really remind ourselves, something is going wrong. Attending Mangala Arti every day, for all of us, is an important thing. Chanting 16 rounds, it's an important thing. Because we do it every day, it could become ordinary, but an extraordinary devotee will do that diligently every day. That's very important. So when we are seeing here, when Krishna is doing his activities, if you go through it, these are quite simple, ordinary activities, but he's happy to do them. Similarly, you see in the case of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was a Grihastha. As a Grihastha, even though he's a supreme personality of Godhead, but as a Grihastha, it was his duty to perform the Shraddha ceremony of his father. As a son, what is it that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is obliged to? He's not obliged to do anything. But he feels obliged that I'm the son and I must perform the Shraddha of my father. And apparently Shraddha is considered to be a religious activity, a sub-religious activity. It's not a pure religious activity. But he performed the activity for his father because he performed the ordinary activities because he found the need to do that. He went to East Bengal. Why did he go to East Bengal? As a teacher, he went to East Bengal because he wanted to teach and make some money. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to East Bengal because he was a very brilliant teacher and wanted to really, as we call, better prospects. He went to East Bengal and to make money. He came back. Unfortunately, his wife, Lakshmi Priya, died. And for the sake of his mother's protection, happiness, he got married again to Vishnu Priya Devi. He took sannyas. So, I'm not saying sannyas is an ordinary activity, but what is the need for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to take sannyas and leave his house? But he followed the rules of the world at that time. It is said that if I need to be a preacher, people are respectful to the sannyasis and I will take sannyas so that I can preach. Things that are required to assist the preaching mission must be done. So what we need to understand is that for all of us, it is very, very important to think about how we can do our regular daily activities with attention, with sensitivity. If you study these activities of Krishna that we have been studying in this four verses, there are the few of the points that come out of it. The first another point that Krishna would very, very strictly adhere to his Grihastha dharma. A dharma is a Grihastha. And what is the dharma of a Grihastha? To give in charity. Now Krishna is beyond Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas, right? Is beyond all these things. But when he comes, when he's a Grihastha, he does perform, and we see that he's giving charity. He's very, very respectful to the Brahmanas. He's serving the Brahmanas, as explained in these verses. And very, very respectful and loving to his subordinates. That's the duty of an ideal leader. A leader, I mean, I was discussing with, with one of the persons who is a driver of a very big man, a chauffeur of a he drives a very, very big industrialist. And usually, the person who drives a person knows everything about that person. Because you could be very polished when you're in the meetings and everything, say he's a polished person, but when you are in your own vehicle, own car, and the way you talk on the phone, you come to know what is the quality of the person. And how it is simply a very, very thin layer of polishness and sophistication, when deep within it is a very, very cruel person. So this person said that I hate my job, I hate my boss. But there's kya karu sir, lachar hu. Lachar means I'm simply, doing because there's no other job. I need to work for this person. Why? Because this person thinks that I am the boss and this guy is my driver, and the way he deals with him is so atrocious and so very cruel. The way he talks to him. But I was just reading this. How does Krishna deal with his charioteer, who is nothing but actually his driver? His driver stands with folded hands, and every day, how sweet this is. The Acharyas explain, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in the purport. The Acharyas point out that Lord chariot driver would stand with joined palms, and that the Lord, holding on to his joined hands with his right hand, would mount the chariot. So very loving. Can you imagine the Supreme Person of Godhead, Krishna? He catches the hand of his charioteer, that, oh, thank you for being here. Thank you for your respect. And he shows his love and respect to him by catching his own hand, physically showing love. And he climbs the chariot. This is an ideal leader. This is an ideal Grihastha. I remember in one of the leaders of ISKCON talking to me, he said a Grihastha, and for that matter everybody, but much more a Grihastha, should make sure that every single person who is dealing with him or her is happy. Because Grihastha deals with many people in the world. He has his maybe maids, he has his staff, he has the people who do various things for him. We should see to it that this is the extended family, and Grihastha should make sure that they all are happy. And Krishna right here, the beginning of the day, right in the morning after he sees auspicious things, he goes to his ministers, gives them gifts, and what is the verse? The verse says, he wants to make sure that they all are happy. They all are blissful. That's an ideal Grihastha, that's an ideal leader. The Grihastha he has some possessions, And if a Grihastha becomes proud of his possessions, then that gives rise to looking down on the people who do not have them. A Grihastha should understand that I'm simply a trustee of all these possessions, and this actually belongs to Krishna, and I should use it for everyone that I come in touch with and contact with. The beggars who beg on your mirror, on your glass, knock at the glass of your car. How you deal with them. You can say, oh, hada, cha, oh. You can say that. But if you are really feeling that I want to make this person also happy, whoever comes in touch with me, I want to make him happy. That is what Krishna is teaching us. Then being conscious of things and carrying something to make that person happy. But we become very complicated in our thinking because we are devotees. Oh, if I give him money and he will just use this money for something and all the karma will come to me. My dear friend, are there not enough bad karma that you yourself are doing for yourself? That you're worried about other karma? You have enough bad karma. Just giving some money, ideal is to give some prasad. But try to see to it that you make the person happy. The whole idea is that make the person happy. Let nobody go who comes in touch with you with a frown on their face. That's a devotee. How sensitively he deals with every single person. That's how sensitively he has nurtured his Krishna consciousness within. That within Krishna consciousness is shown by his activity without. How he deals with everybody, not just the senior devotees, not just the equal devotees, but with everybody. So first, Krishna is very closely, this verse says, he observes the Grihastha Dharma very, very nicely. And then he has utmost love and respect for everybody around. As we mentioned, Sarva Sukhino Bhavantu. That is the thing that we want. That everybody should be happy. And we don't have much dominion over people. To whatever extent we have some dominion, whatever extent we have some service we can do, we should be doing that. The other thing that comes out is Krishna is very, very punctual. Very interesting. At the sound of the rooster, Krishna gets up. Now, Krishna doesn't even sleep. How, does Krishna sleep? In one sense, Krishna is always awake. But because in this performance of his dharma in Dwarka, moment the rooster sounds, and rooster doesn't have a snooze button. It sounds once, and you have to get up. And Krishna would rise early in the morning, meditate upon himself. I was just thinking that how fortunate we are that we have Krishna to meditate upon, but Krishna has nobody to meditate upon. Krishna to meditate upon himself. But we are so fortunate. It's such wonderful. So Krishna meditated upon himself, and then this verse says, by then the Lord's driver would be brought. So by then, that means there's a fixed time by which the chariot comes. Fixed time, by then. Otherwise, Sridhar Goswami would not use the word by then. He says, by then the chariot comes. So Krishna at a fixed time climbs the chariot. Very, very punctual, very, very system oriented. But Krishna is a ruler. And if you want to be a ruler, if you want to be a leader, you have to be, one of the important aspects is you have to be very responsible. And one of the important aspects of responsibility is punctuality. And the last thing, Krishna climbs the chariot. It's not that he climbs and says, okay, let's go. But as the verse explains, that Krishna climbs the chariot with Satyaki and Uddhav. It's like, come on, they all go together. Krishna is a brilliant team worker. He works in team. Even though he doesn't need to be. He's supremely, as we said, supremely independent. But he goes together. And I was discussing this verse the other day with one of the guests that we had at our home. And he mentioned that Krishna would go with his people and discuss business while going. So he would not waste a single time. He would start talking business, start talking what is needed for the kingdom. So when you see this, when you get a peep into Krishna's personality and you see how Krishna is behaving and what are his daily activities, and we understand that how wonderful is Krishna. And the more and more and more we adore and worship Krishna, the more we glorify Krishna, the more Krishna becomes a very, very respectable and large personality in our heart, to the same extent we will realize that how ordinary and small we are. The moment Krishna becomes big, we'll automatically become small. And that is the purpose of Bhagavatam. That is the purpose of each and every verse. Every verse, every word of Bhagavatam is nothing but meant to really teach us the glories of Krishna and how Krishna performs his wonderful, glorious activities in such a sensitive, loving, trusting, respectful way. Every act of his. And if we are supposed to be his devotees, if we are supposed to represent him, right, we also call the Hare Krishnas, right? Devotees are called Krishnas. Prabhupada writes in one of the purports that Krishnas, the devotees are also called Krishnas. So the world is seeing us as Krishna devotees, and if we need to be representing Krishna in a proper way, then we need to be also very, very sensitive in all our duties of life. And that's why we see Srila Prabhupada, and of course I was thinking, Krishna, the whole month of Kartik, the whole month of Kartik is nothing but glorifying extraordinary Krishna in a most ordinary way, getting scared of Mother Yashoda. Just like ordinary child would get scared of a mother. And Krishna loves to be like this. He loves to be ordinary. He loves to be very simple. But when he does those simple activities, those activities become extraordinary. So let us all really understand the importance that if we continue doing our daily activities with utmost sensitivity, with utmost love, chanting Hare Krishna every day, and attending Mangala Aarti to whatever extent we can as Grihasthas, to how many times we can come to temple, or as Brahmacharis, as often as possible in a temple, regularly associating with devotees, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, doing all this daily, because the problem is when you do things daily, it becomes mechanical and mundane. That's the problem. Same thing again and again becomes mundane. If something is done rarely, we are enthusiastic. But to do the same thing again and again, the nature of the mind is, it makes it very mundane, very ordinary. But if you see Krishna, he does the same activities with the same sensitivity every day. Similarly, if we also learn to do our regular activities with a very utmost sensitively, properly, then our ordinary activities will one day make us extraordinary in the eyes of Krishna. We don't want to be extraordinary, but Krishna will see that yes, this is a wonderful devotee. He has been doing it, the same activity with great diligence regularly. And that is what we call sadhana bhakti. We are sadhana bhaktas, and sadhana bhakti means doing our sadhana every day with utmost diligence. And by doing our sadhana utmost diligence, one day we will become a wonderful object of Krishna's mercy and achieve his lotus feet. I thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.